2018 California Spring Trials and Post-Conference Tour, Dr. Mori and Dr. Baldos.
This past spring in mid-April, while Oahu was flooding and Kauai was flooding, Orville and I took off for the California Spring Trials, which is actually a showcase for many of the commercial breeders to put forth their new products, similarly to what we have like new germplasm. It's what the big commercial breeders have, and it's located in several spots so that several companies can come up together, hui together, so that they can display their new products up and coming for breeders, growers, nurserymen who want to grow it out. So we were fortunate that the spring trial excursion field trip was put together by Cornell University, Dr. Mark Ridgen, who's a breeder himself. And so the group consisted of, I believe, 36 individuals. Here we are at Sakata Seeds from Hawaii, Orville. Dr. Richard Criley and Cynthia Nazario Leary participated. So members of our new germplasm team for the ornamental and flower section participated. And it was an excellent opportunity to network also with other academics and members of private industry, and also public gardens like Longwood Gardens had some people in the group too.
So, well, we went to Danziger. One of our stops was Danziger, and they have a lot of petunias in there. This is also Danziger. They have new, what's this? Gypsophila.
Gypsophila.
And then this status, and that's a kalankoi that they're marketing as a cut flower,
Yeah, so it's a new cut flower, and it was an opportunity for us to see Danziger not just as a potted plant grower, but also as a cut flower breeder. This is one of the trends that we saw. These are Acai Clements, and there's a push towards smaller potted plant types. So if you can see, these are in centimeters, but it's about 9 centimeters all the way down to 6. So it's about 4 inches, 4 inches, and 2 to 4 inches. So there's a need, or there's a perceived trend towards developing smaller potted plants.
Yeah, because most people don't have that space anymore. Like most urban areas have like small apartments, so they want something small as a house plant.
So that shows you in scale how small is small. That's one of the breeders on the upper left. We also saw Coleus, which we normally see bigger, but these are also smaller sized Coleus on display. And the leaf shape and colors are becoming more varied.
We also saw some tropicals. This was from Costa Rica, I believe. Yeah, so they're selling Bougainvillea.
And if you notice the product development, it's kind of like trellis, being sold and displayed as trellis instead of just being in pots. So a new way to market.
And that's probably a grafted Bougainvillea that they also trellis. So.
So it was we had 2 full days of field trips. The next morning we went to Sakata Seeds. They do bedding plants and some degree of cut flowers, but mostly bedding plants. So this was some of the cut flowers they had on display. And the reason we were interested in taking photos of the cut flowers is that HFNA has been working with the designers. You have Tropical Nouveau now, which is the next trend of mixing tropicals with temperates. So Ranunculus, sunflower is not really a temperate, but it can be grown here too. But between Ranunculus, Dianthus, and Gypsophila, all these other temperate cut flowers, it would be nice to see what they have so that when we do the tropical nouveau, we know what's available, what are the color schemes, and where can we complement or work with each other. Okay. This is one of the more novel colors. So we usually don't see browns. So on the extreme left, you have Roseanne, which is bare brown, and they have a Roseanne 2, which is a darker brown. And, well, it all depends. It can be brownish pink.
I can say antique.
Antique color.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's more like the antique expression. And they have Rosita, which is the pink group. There's a green Rosita, so all kinds of different Dianthus. This one is the more soft type temperate flowers. So that was interesting to see. Talk about
And this was
taki seeds.
Taki seeds, yeah. But yeah, so they have different types of sunflowers that they're coming up with now.
And if you notice, they had it displayed using Van Gogh's sunflower painting to display the different types of sunflowers associated with it. Okay.
Oh, and then we went to Proven Winners, and we were we had lunch, and they had a presentation about marketing to millennials, because millennials are getting bigger and bigger in terms of population. So yeah, it's a bigger market.
So this educating the people who produce for millennials is important because it's good to see what's in the mindset or what drives millennials to buy. So Proven Winners had spent I think we had about a 15-minute presentation on knowing millennials and what are the key drivers for millennials to buy. So they mentioned that millennials outnumber the baby boomers. And the first step to selling millennials is education. Millennials want in-person training. Although online, they're very comfortable using online aids such as YouTube. They even talked about which social media platforms were more effective.
Yeah, because there's actually a influential YouTuber that I think Proven Winners have tapped into. I think it was a lady, I think Garden Answers, I think that's the name of the lady who's promoting some of the plants.
So the millennials also tend to want to do things themselves, so video tutorials are very important. Yeah. And so one of the examples they had too was something about succulents, which Orville mentioned earlier in his presentation that succulents are up and coming. And we will have a few slides to show how popular succulents has become. Okay. So Proven Winners, after we did the talk in the hall, we went out, and this is one of the displays they had about succulents. So they show different ways of using it instead of just having the plants in liners or 2-inch pots. There was considerable effort in showing how these plants can be combined together.
Yeah, I think they sell it as a package rather than individual plants.
So it comes in a kit with so they have different themes, and so the do-it-yourself experience comes into play. So they're presented with a kit, and that narrows the thinking that has to be done by thinking which materials do I combine. So pretty much it's the combination, and they sometimes have patterns so that they can follow what to do. Again, more of the dish garden type succulents. And again, we see on the right, there's a focus on having smaller sized arrangements. Again, this has been reinforced throughout our different stops that not only bigger plants, but there has been more and more efforts in developing smaller sized material.
Yeah, more and more petunias. Actually, it's like 2-3 days of petunias. by the end of the trial, you're kind of numb already with petunias.
So this was at Dumen Orange, which is probably the biggest flower breeder worldwide. They have been acquiring companies left and right almost every 6 months. One of their newest acquisitions was at this point was Sogo, the orchid company in Taiwan. So they have acquired that. Prior to Sogo, they had acquired Acai poinsettias, which used to be one of the bigger poinsettia breeders. So Dumen has been building up. They're becoming to be a mega flower breeder, and their presence is worldwide. For anthuriums, they also acquired rind plants. So they are definitely trendsetters, and they have the ability to and the capacity to influence the future of flower and foliage too. One of the things we noticed was that, do you see the title, the names? The naming has capitalized on the Hawaiian mystique. So they have Aloha Kona for this set of Calibrachoa, which kind of looks like petunias, hanging baskets, and it is all kinds of Aloha Kona soft pink, Aloha Kona half blue sky, and so on and so forth. So definitely the naming has capitalized on, I guess, the colors that Hawaii typically brings. We have more to show you about using the Aloha Nani. So bright and bold colors. We also have another one,
Mix.
I think. Oh, Trio Mix.
Trio Mix.
Hawaiian Orchid. And you're thinking, why Hawaiian Orchid? I'm looking at that. We were looking at that and we're thinking, what about it evokes orchid? Anyway, Hawaiian Orchid. So let it be. On the
Back.
on the right side in the back, you can see there's it's a little potted plant, mainly something you can put on your desk or a small table. So those are kalanchois that are meant for smaller arrangements.
Yeah, because this display over here, they kind of suggest how we are going to use the plant material.
And then we have here Hawaiian Trio Mix, the Hawaiian fruit bowl. So I guess in terms of marketing, it's something that they had capitalized on. And it's not typically crops that we grow in Hawaii, but it definitely creates a marketing opportunity for Dumen. This is one of the poinsettias we saw. Very compact.
Then it's mixed with kalanchoy
Yeah.
also.
So the small kalanchois are labeled the Kalandiva series for small plant materials. After the spring trials, we went to go and visit different production sites in Southern California. This is Kendall Nursery. How many acres, Orville?
I forgot. It's a very big.
It's a huge operation and based in just south of LA. They have numerous foliage plants, and they're also the largest producer of wax flowers in the US. Okay. The different gradations of blue are actually
eucalyptus and a couple other cut foliage.
A few years ago, most of their farm burned down, and that was because the farm burned down and
Because there was a
brush fire.
and it burned, I think, over 70% of their farm, and the fire actually spread around their farm by the drip tape. Yeah.
So, something you wouldn't think of, but the drip tape.
Next.
They use sustainable operations. They had invested heavily in solar panels. And they also had numerous water catchment systems, water reservoirs, especially this being in Southern California and faced with the water situation. They have done this, so they have invested in that. As I mentioned earlier, they have focused much of their effort on wax flowers. This was taken in mid-April. So they were actually gearing up for Mother's Day and holding them in the reefer. They had different forms of wax flower. I think this is the one, the lady, she's the farm manager,
Yeah.
Katya. And she was saying this is her preferred color, but it was difficult to grow. So they had mostly whites and pinks. And on the right, you see the different foliage that they carry.
Yeah. So it's mostly eucalyptus. This is silver dollar, I think the one with the bigger leaf. And this is the baby blue eucalyptus.
We also visited Milano, which I believe is a third generation flower company. Third or fourth? Going on fourth. Okay. Yeah, the president knows Eric and said that, when he knew we were from Hawaii, he wanted to meet with us. The production manager in Milano's is a graduate of UH Manoa, Ken Taniguchi. Some of you might have met him when he was in grad school, when you were in grad school too. So he's been with the company for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And so he has fond memories. Surprisingly, for a student who had majored in vegetable breeding, he's doing flower growing and doing fantastic work with it. To talk about that.
So you can see, the farm, they actually had the farm first, but now you have not really luxury homes, maybe subdivisions going around that, and that's actually a big problem that they have also, because when that also reduces their spraying schedules. So
So not much buffers between their farm and residential area. So rapid urbanization has affected them. Okay. Milano's does cut flowers as well as cut foliage, and they have most of their operation for cut foliage under cover.
Yeah, you can see this whole hillside is covered with red shade cloth. And underneath that you have this is Pittosporum.
Pittosporum.
Yeah? So they're growing Pittosporum under red shade cloth. The reason for the red shade cloth is to help the stems elongate more.
So not too long ago, there were some photoselective shade cloth experiments in Waikea, Komohana. So similar concept of using photoselective or colored shade cloth to stimulate elongation in this case. So they had invested in, I forgot how many acres of growing Pittosporum under cover. They also were working with another of our alumna, Ruth Kobayashi, who's working with Dumin, was assisting them with their Ranunculus breeding. So they're working on that. They had some test sites, so some yellows, some pinks, and related. I think there were about 3 major color groups that they were testing at the moment.
And some of this ranunculus is tourist attraction. I think the same companies also has that field and in Carlsbad, California.
I think this might be the last, but this was their operations in preparation for Mother's Day. So many different types of wax flowers, carnations too. They had some type, no, not Dianthus, different type from carnation.
I think most of the like the ones at the bouquets that you buy at Safeway, the foliage most likely came from them. Yeah.
And so that's just a brief introduction or a brief summary of our trip to California. Yes?
The trend for smaller plants, are they breeding it or they are treating it chemically, most likely?
There is breeding effort in breeding. I'm not. Maybe there's also
I
some
think a combination of
yeah.
both growth retardants and also breeding. At Dumen, I didn't show the picture, but there was for poinsettia. Normally, to get poinsettia short, there's pinching is done as well as growth retardant application. They had a
Is that the no pinch one?
the no pinch
Yeah,
one.
so they have a cultivar called Holly that they're going to release 2019, I believe. So it's a no pinch cultivar of poinsettia, and it's different because it's an oak leaf type. Because I guess the oak leaves are like old varieties, and it's now coming back again.
So when you talk about, so it kind of brings in, again, ties in about the importance of not just having new germplasm, but also old germplasm. So in case we need something, we can always fall back on something that, it's like something that you have that may be in the back burner, but if there's utility, then you can bring it back to be used for breeding or marketing. Yes.
With regard to the the idea to reduce importing stuff, flowers and like that last farm you had all the wax flower. I mean, I know that we have wax flower in Volcano, but I was wondering if anybody has thought about a list of things that we can actually grow here, that we could grow ourselves, to sustain ourselves without bringing, because some of this stuff we couldn't grow, right? I'm like Ranunculus. But I'm wondering if anybody's sort of, put together a list of things that might work to grow here and where to grow them, because we have so many different areas to grow
Microclimates,
stuff.
that's
Yeah, right.
correct.
So I'm kind of curious about that.
Cynthia has done the work.
Yeah, we have one of our co-PIs in the New Germplasm Grant is Cynthia Nazario Leary. So she was testing she was working mostly on sunflowers and hydrangea, and also maintaining some of the wax flower germplasm in Kula Maui.
Yeah.
So
Right,
she's,
'cause Maui also, so.
yes, so she would probably be the best person to answer that question.
Mhm. Yeah, because I was just thinking, we it's all well and good to want to be more sustainable, but we need to. I mean, it would save a lot of time if somebody could sit down and go through a whole gigantic list of things that are, desirable for one. I mean, there's no point in trying to grow stuff that nobody wants to buy, and then what's the feasibility of us being able to do it here, because our climate here is nowhere near like Southern California. Not going to happen. It's like all those petunias would melt in 3 days after Hilo rains. So there's, petunias are out the window, so I think that's kind of an important thing for, if you want to encourage people to grow stuff, it would be good to work out a whole bunch of wrinkles first. Like, don't even bother trying to grow that because it's not going to go. Unless you're here, or here. But so I think that might be something to work on. What
Maybe do some
It's possible.
initial trials of some.
yeah, what are the feasibility of some of their crops, and then that's all my 2 cents. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Yeah, definitely there's still a lot more to be done. We're just scratching the surface, if I may say so. So having these ideas help us also formulate and move forward to see what are the needs and how can we best address the needs.
questions? Okay. So, to that point, Mr. Tanoe, there is a grant out there called the Federal State Marketing Improvement Program, and it is to mitigate the challenges or to solve the challenges, the obstacles with marketing agricultural products. So if she wants to do that kind of if she needs that kind of information, FISMA grant might be the avenue to go.